Today I'm here to talk to you about soloing dens, how to know when you're ready to solo a den, what are the benefits, and how do you get started. So what I want to do is show you the process on one of my farms where I truly don't know actually what it can solo, so you can see what it looks like when you're just getting started. So here I am with my farm. This is an archer focused farm. Now, this is what it looks like when you go to solo a rally, right? You will have one person sending a full amount of troops into the den, and everybody else sends one troop. That's what it means when we say soloing. If you look at the combat report for one of these dens, you'll see that the wounded soldier count is usually very small, somewhere around 10, and that's the main benefit to soloing a den. If you have everybody sending full and mixed troops and this and that, you can have hundreds and thousands of wounded versus just a handful, which saves you a lot on healing costs doing it this way. Even though maybe you're hitting a slightly lower level than what you could do, you're saving a lot. So how do we get started? First of all, when you go to solo a den and you just look at any den, the first thing that you want to do is to make sure that you have at least one full march of your highest level troops for your primary troop type. So here I have a mix of T7s and T8s. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually just pop back in here into my castle and promote some of those T7s until I have a full march of my T8 archers. Okay, so now that we're good to go, the next question is what level den should you be starting with? So I'm going to check here. My troop power with this march is 140 million, so I'll save that line up. And if you look at the den itself, when you click on it, there's a power associated with that den. This one is 82 million, so I can definitely go higher than this just based on the base power. 24 was 88, 95, 140. So I'm going to start with this den here and just go ahead and run this rally and see how we do. Let's also look just quickly at the heroes. I'm using here all archer heroes, and I'm sure you know from my other PvP video that we don't usually use 5 of the same type, but in this case I'm going to, and I'll talk to you a little bit later about why I'm doing that for my den. We will experiment with a couple different mixes and see how it goes. So here we go with our den. We're going to run a rally, sending a full march of T8 archers. Okay, so we beat that den. We beat it with 86% success. You need 50% or higher to beat the den. And usually the rule of thumb is if you're over 65%, then you can go up a level. So I'm going to go ahead and jump up 2 levels. That was a level 26. I'm going to try a 28 and see how that goes for us. You're looking for the sweet spot where you're beating it, but just barely. So 73 out of 28. Let's try a 30. Here we go with our 30. And now while that's running, I'm going to talk to you for a minute about your heroes. In this case, we're running archers, and so my mix of my heroes, my best heroes for archers is going to be these 5 here: Edith, Toot, Norris, and then notice Dolly and Hanzo are 4-star ones that are at +5 versus Freya at a +3. We've been using Freya in this mix, but I'm going to ask you and challenge you whether that's actually the best choice. So here we are. These are the 5 that I usually run with if I were doing this. And the Freya at a +3, if you just let's look at Hanzo for a minute. He only has 2 troop stats for Archer being buffed, but he's buffing them at 50%. Dolly has 3 being buffed at 50%. She is definitely the best of the 2 of them. But between Hanzo and Freya, right, Freya at a +3 as a 5-star hero is giving us only 19% to our troop stats for archers and for basically all troops. So versus a 50% attack and a 50% defense on Hanzo. Honestly, in a den situation, attack is really the most important stat, because ideally you're winning and beating almost all of the troops in that den kind of on your first pass, and not having to go back into defense and HP and doing those calculations on the latter half with multiple rounds like you would be in a PvP. So if we use a different 5-star here that's leveled up a little more, like Rod here, he's only 25%, so that's still not as good as our Hanzo's 50%. and that's at a +4. So if we want to think about different ways that we can increase our den, we might look at using different heroes. I would prefer, honestly, this is probably the best mix of the heroes that I have here. If I don't have Norris, then I would be trying to pull in one of those other troop heroes, probably Sodoma or Rodriguez, because they are going to give me a boost higher than what I'm getting from Freya. In this particular situation, at her +3, I've got +4. So I would probably, if I didn't have Norris, I would be using Edith, Toot. I would be using Rod or Sodoma equally. Either one would be fine. And then I'd be using Hanzo and Dolly as my 4-star heroes until I got one of those 5-star heroes, at least to like a +6, +5 red star. That's when they become a little bit more interchangeable. But at a +4 or a +3, those 5-star heroes are not really doing that much for me. One other thing that you should be thinking about just across the board is your curio game here. So where can I be adding some curios to some heroes to help increase my stats overall? So I have a couple, what I always encourage people to do is to not worry about what curio is on the hero that you are deploying, because those are going to be passive. So if you're saying I'm sending Toot because he has a purple and Rod only has a blue, that's the wrong thinking. Those curios are active as long as they're on the hero in your warehouse. It does not need to go in your march. So even these these heroes down here that are passive that don't go in marches, like Edmund or Monica, if you put a curio on them, it's still going to help you. So what I like to do is try and just push as many of the 5-star heroes as possible up to 211 and just put any curio on them. Anything can be a gold book, whatever it is. Just increase these heroes and then go ahead and see, here's a 1% attack on this at a basic level, but as you ascend these, this one's an 8%, this one's 33%, so that really does scale as you increase and improve those heroes. Alright, let's check this den here. We're attacking a 30 now. And a new achievement too. So at our 30, we succeeded with a 53.06% rate, so this seems like this is a sweet spot for us where we're winning, but just. So I'm going to stick with 30. 30 is the level that I'm going to be at, and as I increase my stats, eventually once I hit 65% on a 30, then I would go to a 31. Now let's talk again about those hero choices. That was with our Freya in the mix, but if we wanted to change that, let's see how that impacts our dens. You see here, taking Freya out and putting in Hanzo again with his 50% attack and see what that does for us on our den. Go ahead and run that same 30. And here you see that went up just a little bit to 53.12 instead of a 53.06 because he's got that higher attack stat than Freya. Even though she's a 5-star hero at a +3, she's not as good as our Hanzo at a +5. And let's test one more thing. If we wanted to run that same level 30 den, and then instead of Freya or Hanzo, I would use one of my higher leveled up 5-star troop heroes like Rod, or I'm gonna just pick Sodoma for fun. And we put her in the mix and we run the same den with her troop stats being higher at a +4 than Freya was. And we see what happens. That den was a little lower at a 53.08, but still a little bit better than what it was with our Freya at a 53.06. So the +4 Sodoma, better than a +3 Freya, but not as good still as a +5 Hanzo. As I mentioned in my troop mixing video, the dynamics of dens are different. You don't have as many rounds of combat as you have in PvP, and that's why attack is really the king stat here. And that's why we're focusing more on that. So some of these, like Dolly, will stay in play for quite a while until you really have developed your 5-star heroes up to a 5, 6 red star, +6 red stars usually when you're going to start phasing them out. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this is good to get you started on running solo dens and teaching your alliance how to run solo dens. As always, please like, subscribe, let me know in the comments, or join the Discord if you have any questions. As always, thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.